Hey, welcome to the Health with Hashimoto's podcast. Back in episode 116, I interviewed an expert, Jenny Crane, about the mind-body GLP-1 system. I had just been doing a series about GLP-1 and wanted to introduce you as a listener to this incredible system that simplifies everything that I talked about in that series of how you can increase your own GLP-1 without turning to the pharmaceuticals, which have more risks than benefits. So I just updated that file. So if you go back and listen to all of the podcasts in sequential order, the new 116 is going to be this updated version. But if you're listening in real time and you don't go back, you're not going to hear that update. So I have it here for you so that you can hear the updates and listen to Jenny Crane introduce the mind-body GLP-1 system and all of the benefits that she has seen as she has helped so many people use it. Enjoy the interview. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Health with Hashimoto's. I am so happy to bring a guest to you today. So over the past couple episodes, or in the past, we talked about GLP-1. We've talked a lot about it. We talked about what it is, how to activate your own, what kind of foods to do, what the benefits are, what the benefits versus risks are of the pharmaceuticals. And today I have a guest. Her name is Jenny Crane, and she is going to tell us about a system that activates your own GLP-1 production and does it naturally. So let me tell you a little bit about Jenny. She is wife to Nick, who is a private chef. They live in California. You still live in California, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Southern California.
All right. She dropped out of college to pursue life as an entrepreneur. She has worked in the realtor mortgage industry and now does network marketing because of her passion for health and wellness and helping other people succeed and grow. So Jenny, thank you so much for being here, and tell us a little bit more about your story.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate you, Esther, and I really appreciate what you're doing. I think so many people out there are struggling with autoimmune and Hashimoto. So I love your podcast and I love the information that you provide. So thank you. So yeah, I dove into the wellness world. My son was vaccine injured 17 years ago. So that was kind of my awakening to, the body, the human body, and just the power of the human body when you give it what it needs. And so even though it was a really big struggle at that time, it was kind of my awakening moment to the wellness world. And I know many people who are listening probably have their awakening moment. But over the last, 17 years, I've really made a commitment to educate myself, to understand the power of the human body. And so that led me obviously to the LifeVantage products, knowing about biohacking and the difference between supplementation versus activation and just really why these are so set apart. And so that's how I came into the LifeVantage, family. I've been sharing these products now for over a decade. And I tell people all the time, if I could download my brain in tears as to what I've seen these products do, you tell everybody you know and love. And I know, Esther, you kind of feel the same way. So that's kind of how I came into that world. And over time, I've just been able to help people in their journeys. My mom was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer 5 years ago. And that was just kind of another level of awakening and just education for myself. She decided to go the integrative route. And gosh, I was there, just as her advocate, knowing that, her body had the power to heal with the right tools. And so that was just another level and just brought me to a new understanding. And I feel like sometimes our biggest challenges teach us what we need to know for the next step in our lives. And so I'm just so thankful that I've been on this journey, getting to know people like yourself and a lot of the integrative doctors and practitioners that have become my dear friends. I just love learning and I love to teach. And I think that's where it starts all the change. So thanks for having me. That's kind of the short version of my story, but
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about your mom. Is she doing well now?
incredible. Yeah.
Awesome.
She did 2 months of integrative treatments and was cancer-free in 2 months. So it's
That's
amazing.
amazing.
And she's just, radically changed her health, changed what she was putting in her body, made the LifeVantage products obviously the core foundation of what she was doing on top of her diet and nutrition and detox protocols and all the things, that we should be doing every day. So she's healthier than she's ever been because of those changes that she made. And she always says too, like her challenge with being diagnosed with triple negative was her biggest blessing because it took her down a path of true wellness and healing, and she's living her best life. So it's pretty cool to see
It's awesome.
transformation there.
That is very, very good. Good. I'm so happy for her and for you guys.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
So you mentioned there's a difference between supplementation and activation. And then also we're talking about GLP-1, so pharmaceuticals. Before
Yes.
we talk specifically about the mind-body GLP-1 system, do you want to tell the listeners just about those three categories: supplementation, activation, and pharmaceutical?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when I stumbled upon the concept that, obviously our body at the root can heal itself. A part of the problem with our allopathic medicine world is that we get sick and all we want is to go to the doctor and they give us a pill to mask the symptoms. Well, the same thing kind of happens in the supplementation world. A lot of people don't know that over supplementing can cause more damage than it actually does good. If supplements were the answer for everything, everybody would be 100% healthy doing all the things. But at the end of the day, we have to look at our DNA, right? Our body's ability to not only absorb and to be able to utilize the things that we're intaking, but a lot of that comes down to the cellular health. And when I found the LifeVantage products and I understood that these products at a cellular level biohack our body, actually go in and turn on our own body's own ability to heal itself at a cellular level, I was blown away and it made sense. So that's kind of a little bit of the difference between activation versus supplementation. I feel like with supplementation, we're just guessing, okay? Like doing, and a lot of the times, integrative practitioners don't even know the right test to run. So they're just kind of throwing darts at a wall, hoping they'll stick. But with activation, with Protandim NRF2, Protandim NRF1, and NAD, you're looking at supporting the body at the cellular level and activating the body's own biological pathways and functions to really perform optimally so that everything we do on top of that will just function better. And that's kind of the difference there. And then, of course, I did touch a little bit on the pharmaceutical side. I'm not saying that at times medications are not needed. In certain time and place, they are absolutely needed. But the problem is that we've just become dependent on those pharmaceuticals. And then you're looking at all the side effects. And really, at the end of the day, it just becomes a mask for the problem, right? The symptom, it's not really getting to the root cause of why is the body reacting this way. And so really, I think it's important for people to educate themselves and understand before they just go to the doctor because they want the quick fix. They should look at it in a different way. And that's what I love about what we're doing here at LifeVantage and our biohacking products. It's really supporting the body's processes. So
Yeah, it
hope that.
absolutely is. Yes, I have a flow chart when somebody asks, what should I be taking? Because I'm a nerd. So a flow chart is just how my brain thinks. But
Love it.
at the foundation is sleep, hydration, and stress. But then
Yes.
as far as like things to take, my number one is the activators. It's the Protandim NRF2 and NRF1, especially if somebody is dealing with autoimmune, because turning on those antioxidant factories in your body and turning on the energy producing parts of your cell, like, that is key. If you want health, you have to have healthy working cells. So I
Absolutely.
love that you're talking about that. All right. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about the mind body GLP-1 system and how it differs from prescription GLP-1.
Absolutely. Well, same concept with the mind body GLP-1 system as you're looking at supporting the body to produce its own GLP-1 hormone. So, a lot of these pharmaceuticals and these injections are, kind of like the same concept of going to get a medication to mask a symptom, right? So, it's not really working with the body's processes. And a lot of the times that's why people are having these side effects, the vomiting. If they are able to take the injections, then they're noticing that their body's muscle mass is being degraded and just a lot of things. And it's not a long-term, benefit to the body. So over long term, if you're looking at taking these injections, how long can you actually stay on these? Now, a lot of people that I know that have been on these for 6 months, even a year, have tried to get off and they gain back more weight than they even had on before. So when you're looking at the pharmaceutical, that's kind of the difference with our mind body activation product. It's working with the body to turn on its own natural production of the GLP-1 hormone. And that is where the magic happens. That is the difference between activating your body to do the work or supplementing with a, injection. So,
Right. So when a lot of people hear GLP-1, they immediately think weight loss. What kind of results have you seen with the mind body GLP-1? Because I know even from personal experience, weight loss is, I mean, I did honestly, I hopped on the scale at at the beginning and end of 6 months, but that's not why I started. I started for a slew of other reasons. I did lose weight, but it wasn't my goal, and my biggest thing for myself is my migraines, which used to come every single month with my period, like 3 to 5 days of level 7, throwing up with pain, like
Wow.
migraines, and they're gone or like maybe up to a 2. So that
Amazing.
is what I experienced. So I know a lot of people, yes, weight loss is what they hear, but what kind of other things and weight loss have you seen?
Yeah, well, I think it's important to understand what the GLP-1 hormone in the body actually does. It's responsible for controlling those cravings, and it's also responsible for regulating hormone responses and managing cortisol levels. So it's more than just weight loss is obviously a side effect that people experience once this GLP-1 hormone is introduced into the body or the body's own GLP-1 hormone starts working better. But it's important to understand how this hormone affects everything from our internal organs to our brain to our gut. It's really something that resides in the gut. Our GLP-1 hormone is pretty much produced and made in the gut. So, as a lot of people, as you know, you teach about autoimmune, gut health is really not there. Optimal gut health for most of the population does not exist. So, because of, the toxins in our environment. So, when you start activating this GLP-1 hormone, sometimes there can be a balancing period, and that's not a bad thing. So, people are used to hearing, well, I'm just going to take a GLP-1 injection and I'm going to lose weight overnight. Some people do. But again, look at the long-term results of that. But really, what it's doing over time is it's helping heal and repair these processes in the body. And so understanding that, looking at scalable victories and non-scalable victories are so massive and so important because it is helping at the cellular level with our gut health, and it's helping, regulate our hormones. And, us midlife women, that becomes over time, we start having hormone issues. So this is really a benefit, not only the weight loss being a side effect. Some people, it can take some time to lose weight, and they have to be able to give this product the applicable amount of time to work. So sometimes there can, when I call a balancing period, some people can actually gain a little bit before they start to lose. Because when you're activating a hormone that's not used to being produced in the body, it's almost like when you start working out at the gym, right? Sometimes you can gain weight before you lose weight. You get sore before you get fit and healthy and strong. So people need to give this the applicable amount of time. And then, of course, you have the people that do lose the 20 pounds in, 8 weeks, and that's great. But it's so important to understand why this product, you may want to take it long term and not just focus on the scale. And like you said, I've seen so many different results with this product. For you, I mean, migraines, that's incredible. I've seen it also help with sleep and energy production. And also one of the big things that people notice too is not having those crazy cravings like at night, when your cortisol level spikes and drops and all those crazy things that it does when you have those cravings. And so the product all around is phenomenal. What I love about the enhanced powder is that it's actually giving you a full nutritional panel as well. So you're getting those nutrients and it's activating that hormone at the same time to help with those nutrient deficiencies, which a lot of people have nutrient deficiencies, like goes back to supplementing, right, versus activating, because their body's not able to absorb these nutrients in the gut. And so that's why it's so important to utilize, that's why we say our stack is Protandim NRF2 and the GLP-1. Use those two products together because they support the body, not only at a cellular level, but from the gut as well as much more. So I hope I didn't just ramble, but I probably did anyway.
Oh, that was
It's a lot
great.
of information, I'm sure.
It is. I forgot to have you tell us, what is the mind body GLP-1? You mentioned the enhance, but we
Yes.
forgot to talk about what it is.
Yeah, so the system is a two-part system, and we have the mind body core and the mind body enhance. So the core is it's a 2 capsules in the morning. You take it 30 minutes before you eat or drink anything. Obviously, you're going to take it with water, but before you even have your coffee, if you drink coffee in the morning, you're taking the core capsules. And then the enhanced powder is you can start anywhere between 2 to 4 scoops. And I like to put it in my protein shake. I think it's important to take the enhanced powder with protein, but it's a powder basically that you use. So you use those two parts together, those two systems together. Products is what I meant to say.
Perfect. And a lot of people who listen to this podcast will be on thyroid medications, which you have to take first thing in the morning on an empty stomach and then wait between 30 and 60 minutes before eating. So
Sure.
how does the MB core correlate, or how do you take it with Synthroid or levothyroxine or something?
You can take it in the morning with your thyroid med. You don't have to do it separate. So we've seen that it's been totally fine to do that.
Awesome. That sure makes it easier.
Yes, absolutely. Well, especially since you're used to having to take those medications by themselves anyway. I think a lot of people that don't have to do that, they struggle with getting up and taking it 30 minutes before they eat anything, but it is important to have that time period. So I think it's perfect.
Yeah, I keep mine on my bedside stand because by the time I have, gotten
Yes.
from bed where I sit up and I take my stuff, and then by the time I got all the way downstairs, it's been 30 minutes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's good to remember that. I actually keep it by my bed too. So
Yeah. I mean, let's make life easy and not have to rely on our memory. Just work it into the routine.
right. Well, that's what I love about these products is you're able to kind of, reduce what you're having to take to get the better and superior results. And that's what I think. It's just simple to utilize these products and then not have to take, the 10, 20 other supplements that you probably normally think you have to take to get the result. So it's
Yeah.
pretty incredible.
Yeah. So you mentioned doing the mind body GLP-1 and the Protandim NRF2. Why would somebody want to combine those two?
Those two, well, if you go to look at any of LifeVantage's stacks, Protandim NRF2 is one of those products. It's our foundational product. It was developed over 40 years of research. There's 28 peer-reviewed studies on it, and it's proven to reduce oxidative stress in the body and support inflammation, reduce cellular inflammation. So anytime you can reduce inflammation plus add a product like the mind body together, you're just going to get those increased results and those benefits because when you put out inflammation in the body can do the work, right? So the body is the miracle. So that's why I feel like it's super important to take these two products together and just introduce Protandim NRF2. I tell people all the time, there was one product on the entire planet, and trust me, I've researched everything that I would, if I only could choose one product, it would be Protandim NRF2. And it's so foundational. And anytime that you stack it with all of any of our other products, you're just going to see those increased results and long-term sustainability of those results. That's the problem in the weight loss world, I believe, is that people are just used to, losing the weight, gaining it back, and not having those sustainable results. What I love about these products is that it really supports that sustainability and keeps you with those results long term because of what the products are doing at a cellular level.
Right. So you mentioned staying on them long term and then also giving them enough time to work. If somebody's considering starting on the healthy weight stack, which is the Protandim plus the mind body, how long would you say to start with?
I would say minimum of 3 months. I would say don't even get on it if you're not willing to give it a 3-month commitment. But I think, 6 months is probably where you should go with it. Even if you, achieve your weight goal, if that's what you're looking to do with the mind body system, I think that this product does so much more than just help with that weight loss. It does, we kind of covered that already. But I feel like it's a long-term, product that you could introduce in your everyday that would benefit you in so many different ways.
Yes, absolutely. And it's delicious. That mind
Love it.
body enhance. When I run out, I miss it for breakfast.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
True story. Yeah, I know. Even my kids like the flavor of it, and that's,
Yeah,
it's a pretty big deal.
it is. Yes.
Yeah,
My
take it.
15-year-old is like, I
Yeah.
want that one. It's good.
Yeah, I think kids, it's, important too. I mean, people think, well, why would you give a kid a GLP-1 product? But like I said, when kids are young and if their bodies are healthy, their GLP-1 hormone is working properly. But, a lot of the times our kids don't have the gut health that our grandfathers, that our grandparents had because of our diets and, all the things that they're eating. I think it's just a foundational product that even kids can take. If they don't want to do the core, they could just introduce the enhanced powder separately, and that would be something of benefit to them for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I started my teenager on it. He's dealing with acne. So, of course, we know there's hormones and there's gut issues because all of those are reflected in
Yes.
the skin. So, I was like, let's start you on the mind body enhance to help with the gut health and see if that changes your acne because it's
Oh,
impacting your hormones and your gut. So,
what have you found with that? What results have you seen?
he's still in school right now, so
Oh,
his diet, like, we try, when
I
he's
get
at
it.
home, but
Yeah.
I heard from one of my other kids that he has a filing cabinet at school because they have a large desk.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, that's where I keep my pop."
Yeah.
And in Minnesota, pop is soda. So he goes to the grocery store in the town where his school is, and he buys bottles or whatever. Like,
It's all
oh,
about balance. So like
it
I told
is.
you, I with my son, he suffered with chronic migraines for years because of his vaccine injury when he was young. And then having the leaky gut because of all the antibiotics from his ear infections, it's just like kind of that cascade effect. And when he went away to college, he stopped taking his Vitality Stack and the collagen, the activated collagen. His migraines came back with a vengeance. He had to learn on his own. And so now he's pretty good about taking it because he's like, Mom, you're right. So sometimes they have to go through that process to learn for themselves. And
They
then
do,
they'll appreciate that their moms, teach them about health when they're probably older. They probably don't get
right?
it, but, anyway,
We
we
can
still
we
have
can
to.
do all we can, but they have to
Yes.
learn it on their own.
Yes. So true.
Yes. All right. So with the mind body system, what is a realistic expectation for weight loss if somebody has Hashimoto's? So they've already got, a slower metabolism. They've probably gained a lot of weight. And of course, as we gain weight, our GLP-1 production goes even lower. So they're starting from like the starting line, but
That's
it's
it.
not the starting line. They're like way behind the starting line. What would be a good expectation for them?
I would just say, give it a good 6 months if I'm being real, because your body takes time to repair, right? So
Mm.
that's and it's all about thinking about things differently. I think changing our mindset with our health, because that's kind of what we've been programmed to think with allopathic medicine is like, we'll just get a quick fix overnight. Allow yourself to go through the process of, staying on these products long term. Even if it's not the GLP-1, I think the foundational products of what, and also obviously our activated collagen, but taking our Protandim product line, and then committing to that with the GLP-1 product, giving it 3 to 6 months minimum. And then also, Esther, one of the things that we do need to discuss is committing to make small changes with working out and weightlifting and lifting weights and eating an applicable amount of protein. Like, we are nutrient deficient, right? Most of us. We are not getting enough protein. We're starving our cells because they're not getting enough nutrients. So there are changes that need to be made alongside taking the activated GLP-1 and then committing to that process while you're doing this. If you're committing to the process, go all the way. Because really, like what you said, at the core, getting out and moving, reducing stress, improving your diet, all of these things are so important. You're not going to just take a GLP-1 product of any kind, even our activated GLP-1, continue with the negative habits and expect to have long-term results. That's just not how it works. So committing to the process of doing the things alongside of the GLP-1 and then giving yourself the time and being patient with your body and its response, I think is super important.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned protein. What would somebody need as a general rule? If you say increase protein, what would you recommend for them to eat?
I think, well, I mean, I personally do about 100 grams of protein a day. And so I try to mix that up in the morning. I do a protein shake because it's really easy to get that protein in the morning in a shake. And then, I'm always eating protein, every 2 hours I eat protein. So it just depends. Sometimes I don't get 100 grams, 120 grams of protein, but I just try to be cognizant of the fact that protein is really so important in balancing cortisol levels. And, as we age, it's so important to be conscious of your protein intake and then being consistent with that, not allowing your body to go in starvation mode, because when it does that, then it's trying to overcompensate. And that's really kind of where hormone dysfunction comes in, is you're actually starving your cells. It's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Your body does not want that.
No. Yep.
Freaks out.
Yeah. And keep snacks, healthy snacks, beef sticks, whatever it might be that you can snack on. If you're not near a place where you can get protein, keep healthy snacks in place that you can like snack throughout the day to give
Yeah.
yourself that protein intake. Be prepared.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is one thing that I was not prepared for when I started on the mind body system, because prior to it, I could just ignore my hunger cues. I had a very unhealthy, like there was a broken connection. My brain and my gut just disconnected. And
Yes.
so having that connection, all of a sudden, I was aware when I was hungry and I was not cool with it. I was like, what is this?
Your
I
body.
have to
The more you
eat.
eat, the more you eat, it's kind of like an intuitive, like a response to, like, I feel like the more you eat, and this is what women especially come to find out, is that when you're eating an increased amount of protein consistently throughout the day, you're going to find out that you actually lose weight, even though you're eating more. And I think a lot of women say, well, I stopped eating. I'm eating half the calories. I'm reducing my calorie count. And I feel like that's just the lie we've been told, that we have to basically starve ourselves to lose weight. No, we have to balance our hormones. And by doing that, by eating, increasing and giving our body what it's craving and it needs to function, that's when you're going to notice the weight loss, is when you're increased that protein intake. And working out, getting out and moving every single day, whether it's walking. I'm a big proponent of lifting weights because it's part of building that muscle. Is pretty much the best thing we could do for anti-aging at an internal level, is getting out there, stressing our body in a good way to produce that muscle mass, because as we age, we lose muscle and bone density as we age. So it's super important to make that part of your daily routine, if not 3 to 5 times a week.
Yes. I struggle with that part.
I know it's hard. Well, it's all about creating new habits and, a little bit at a time. I think it's so important.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. All right. So if somebody's starting with this, are there any mindset shifts that they should take before starting it?
I think just shifting your mindset just around your weight. If you're one of those that has never been able to lose weight, maybe you've struggled since you were young, shifting your mindset and starting from, being negative about your body, start loving your body. And, I feel like talking positive to yourself is huge. Having that positive self-talk, just changing the way that you view who you are, because at the end of the day, God made us each individually important and blessed, and our bodies are our temples, and we need to start honoring them instead of, being pissed off at them all the time is what I could say.
Yes.
And then, being patient with yourself and understanding that it's the consistency that's more important, making those small changes over time rather than just one day ripping off the Band-Aid and going to the gym every day and getting overwhelmed and burnt out, is just making habits a part of your daily routine. So, and then of course, being positive with yourself and understanding that you start loving the body that God put you in, because we're here and we're alive and we should be blessed with that. So,
yes,
yeah.
absolutely. So, Jenny, you've worked with a lot of women and men who are using this, and I know that you've seen a lot of stories. Do you want to share a couple, like internal, external, emotional, what kind of transformation stories can you share with us?
Well, I mean, we just did a mind body weight loss challenge. Actually, the whole company did. And wow, we have seen radical results with the weight loss. Some people have lost 20 pounds in 3 months. It's crazy. So obviously those are some of the external benefits. But I've seen people with skin issues like chronic psoriasis and eczema totally clear up on this product. People that have had gut issues their whole life, healing their guts, able to eat things that they're not, normally able to eat. And then a big one is sleep. So many people come back and report increased benefits in sleeping deeper at night on this product. And so I feel like those non-scalable victories are just as exciting as the scalable victories with the weight loss. And then also, of course, the cravings. I've heard a good friend of mine actually struggled her whole life with wanting to get into the refrigerator at bedtime and eat sugar and ice cream and all the things. And she's like, oh my gosh, this is the first time that I'm not craving that. And I actually feel like I can say no and walk away from the refrigerator. Or she says, now I've taken your advice and I eat protein before I go to bed. I don't eat sugar or ice cream, So it's really cool to hear both sides of the, stories of scalable and non-scalable victories for sure.
That's incredible. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. So, Jenny, if there is one thing that somebody could remember from our conversation today, what would that one thing be?
Yeah, I would just encourage you to invest in your health more than anything and educating yourself. I would continue obviously connecting with your podcast because you get such great information, but just taking time to make it a daily thing to learn something new about your health. There's so many great podcasts out there and people that are, kind of taking a different stance to health and understanding that what we put in our bodies matters, how we view our health, and understanding that, sometimes the traditional medical system is not going to give you hope, but there's always hope. Our bodies are truly miracles. And so, just understand that you have the power to take back your health, and it starts with you and committing to the process. And so that would be my biggest piece of advice.
Which is great advice. Thank you. Thank you for being here and for sharing with us. Yes.
Yeah, I've loved it.
Right. Yes. All right. And the disclaimer, of course, is this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Please discuss any concerns and plans with your trusted healthcare professional. If you found this episode helpful, will you please share it with a friend? I'll see you next week on the Health with Hashimoto's podcast.